What grades would you give the Dallas Mavericks after 25 games? Plus, NBA cap analyst Yossi Gozlan will join us on the program today. All coming up here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Grant, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella, and our national NBA insider, Mark Stein. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single day. Really appreciate you joining us here on DLLS Sports. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe while you're here as well. And you can download and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcast for free. So much to get to on today's episode. What grades would you give the Dallas Mavericks after 25 games? Plus, Yossi Gozlan, NBA cap analyst, is going to be joining us as well on the program at 1:15. So make sure you get in, hang out with us here on this terrific Thursday, as we now know where the Mavericks are going to be playing on Sunday evening. As the Rockets eliminated the Golden State Warriors, that means your Dallas Mavericks will be headed to San Francisco, California, to take on the Golden State Warriors on Sunday evening at 7:30. That will be their 13th road game in the last 17 games overall. That is how we kick off our show today, gentlemen, on this Thursday. How are we feeling today?
I'm feeling lovely. How are you feeling, Kevin?
I'm good.
So often you asked us how we're feeling.
Yeah.
But we don't ask you how you're feeling. How are you feeling, Kevin?
That's sweet, Tim. I'm good, man. This is one of my favorite times of the year. Your boy's birthday's coming up here in about 10 days. Holidays are right around the corner. Yeah.
So my gift for the group, I'm counting that also as your birthday present.
That would be awesome. Yeah, you can go ahead and count that.
I think you will even like the way that. Like,
well, you missed my birthday already, so.
Well, it's your Christmas present. It's Kevin's birthday present.
Okay.
So there you go.
And it's just Bobby's life present.
What's your
life present?
Life gifts. There's nothing wrong with giving
he doesn't
somebody
celebrate
a
Christmas.
gift.
Honestly, today is enough, and that's why it's called
Today
a
is a
present,
gift.
because it's a gift.
That's a sweet sentiment, Bobby. How are you feeling today? You good today?
I'm feeling like an A-, and by the end of the show, I'm gonna be A+. I'm grading my mood, and I'm in the A's.
Already in the A's. Okay. All right, cool. Stein, what's up, man? Good to have you back in studio. How we feeling?
I'm good. A little distracted, but I'm here. I'm listening to every word intently.
Breaking news: we got trade talks going. Mavs about to get Jimmy Butler.
All right, Bobby, you're doing a lot already.
I wish.
Even Cat waited
I
already.
genuinely wish, because he's one of my favorite players to cover, one of my favorite players to talk to, one of my favorite players to watch. But I would not be waiting at the airport for that one.
If a trade was happening right now and you got news of it,
I would be off the set.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. You wouldn't
I will not be doing it in front of you guys.
So if you ever run
I was looking forward to Stein literally breaking the news on the show.
You do not get to see how it works.
But as we approach December 15th and then February 6th, I think, or whatever it is.
I would also love if that happened. I would also love if my phone blinged right now with, "Hey, call me."
Yeah. So if fans ever see you just sprinting away, they know it's because something really cool.
But it'd be too urgent to, get all the way home, I assume.
I would just go out there. I mean,
yeah, we would give you Ben's office.
Or maybe I would just find somewhere that you guys, maybe there's a room in here you guys don't even know about.
There is not, I promise.
No, but I say there's not a place you can hide around here in this city. But I was really looking forward to Stein actually doing the tweets.
I know you said that once before.
On the show, and it's like, nope, it's not going to happen. But let's get
That's for another newsbreaker.
How can I have a conversation like that?
No, you would just do the tweet, and then when you finish,
talk to people on the phone. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, no, if I had the tweet in my holster, I could do that.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for.
That might happen someday.
Oh, okay. We'll look forward to that then. Let's get some grades going for your Dallas Mavericks. As you saw on the title card, who gets an A as we go through our grades for the Dallas Mavericks after 25 games. Tanner, let's show the people where we are in the Western Conference standings, as the Mavericks, of course, 4th in the West at 16-9, sit a game behind the Memphis Grizzlies and the Houston Rockets for 3rd and 2nd in the West. The Oklahoma City Thunder, of course, at 19-5 after their first 24
games. Did the Nuggets just not have to play 82 games this year? What's going on with them?
Because they've only played 22 games so far. The Nuggets in 7th place, Lakers in 8th at 13-11, Minnesota in 9th at 12-11, and Phoenix bringing up the 10th spot at 12-11. By the way, if the San Antonio Spurs were in the Eastern Conference, they would be the 8th seed right now. But 12-12 only gets you, actually doesn't get you anything in the West. Doesn't even get you a playoff spot. That's how tough the West is. So let's dive into it. As an overall grade through the first 25 games, how would you grade in the chat the Dallas Mavericks with their 16-9 record, a team that started 5-7, eventually won 11 of their next 12 games before losing, of course, to the Oklahoma City Thunder on Tuesday? Let us know your grades.
Lost in Utah, drink.
Or hit the bell, as we have come to accustomed to going to. There you go. So let's start there. Tim Cato, how would you grade the Dallas Mavericks after 25 games this season?
Let's say B+. I think B+, because I think this is a team. I think this is a team that can get an A with performances above this. Like the whole point of grading systems is, even think back to school and be really honest with yourself. I think even like there are teachers who graded on a curve. There are teachers who would grade the smart kids a little bit harder because they're like, I expect more of you. I know that you can give more. And that's how I feel about the Mavericks. Even though 16-9, 4th place in the Western Conference, those are perfectly fine places to be. And certainly they've gone on a big win streak. And I just think this team can be a little bit better than even what we've seen so far. They've been a little inconsistent, a little choppy. So I think B+ acknowledges that they're in a good place and that everything is going well. But there's a little bit higher, a little bit more that this team can reach.
Bobby, how would you grade the Dallas Mavericks for their first 25 games?
Yeah, I think B+ is really good. A-, relative to the conference, because like coming into the season, my stated goal was you got to be top 4. Be top 4 and then, win a round or do really, really well in that first round. Whatever it is, just escape the play-in drama. Now, they lose 2 more games or something, they're right back in the play-in mix. And so it's not going to be settled, obviously, until March or April. But, they had a really miserable week, pretty unprecedented week, losing 4 straight games, basically with a chance to win it at the buzzer in every single one of them. And then they responded by winning 11 of their next 12. And, they had a bit of a stinker the other night in OKC, but a lot of teams have done that this season. And so, I think now that they only have 1 game left of this hellacious road-heavy schedule and a lot of travel and a lot of sickness and a lot of injuries and fatigue and exhaustion. They're about to come home and play, 4 or 5 straight games at American Airlines Center starting later this week or next week. They're going to get some rest before then, too. Hopefully they can kick it into an even higher gear and, push for an A+. But, I think B+ might be harsh. A- might be generous. So what about like a B++? Is that an option?
You're making up grades as we go?
Never heard of that.
A-?
Well, you've come around before the show. He said he was going to give them he said he was going to give them an incomplete.
Well, yeah, they've only played 25 games.
Well, I'm glad.
But we're grading them through 25 games.
I'm glad you came
what the
around
question was.
And came up with a.
I have to cooperate with the boys.
I am usually a super hard grader, and I'm really glad that one year I was at the G League Showcase. And they selected me. They asked me if I would judge the dunk contests, and I said yes. And like when I was in high school, nothing was a bigger deal in our friend group than dunk contest Saturday every February, and then anytime Tyson was fighting on HBO. So like, I was super pumped to like, wow, I'm going to judge a dunk contest. This is cool.
And after all these years, they're still doing dunk contests, and Mike Tyson's still fighting. So there you go.
But I was such a hard grader in this. I literally got booed. I was so like, I don't just give you a 10, even though I can't dunk myself, but like I am a super hard grader.
So your score actually starts at 1 instead of 6. Like
everybody's
like
giving
10s
and I'm
contest.
giving 6s and 7s, and like the crowd is literally booing me.
Who was that Stein guy over there with the 6s and the 7s, man?
So I'm a really hard grader, but I find myself, I was straddling that B+, A- line. I think I'm gonna go a solid A-, And the reason is because the 5-7 start was rough and bad and alarming. And we were all like, oh my God, after that Utah game, we were maybe in retrospect, we were overreacting, but like there was deep, deep concern, and it went far beyond this set about how worried people were about this team. The way they have rebounded, doing it with a lot of injuries, doing it with 5-6 games Luka didn't even play, and this schedule that we've been talking about where, what is it? I mean, I need to count up the days. Like, it's going to be 3 home games in a span of like 40 days by the time they actually play another home game, something crazy like that. So with all that stacked against them, let's give them the A-.
I'm going to give him a solid B+, and 2 things I'm going to throw in there. Sorry, I'm going to be the guy that gives the 6 out of the 10 when it comes to the dunk contest. I'm going to go a solid B+. I mean, look, 2 things that stand out to me. Obviously, the 4-game losing streak that the Mavericks had, not great, especially when you had that loss capped off by Utah. Hit the bell, please. And then you have, of course, what was a homestand where you went 2-3 on a 5-game homestand, and those included losses against the Indiana Pacers where you gave up a $134. You had a loss against the Houston Rockets where you lost 108-102, and the energy that Houston brought that night, they really were able to take you out. And then, of course, you lose to the Phoenix Suns 114-113 at home. And for me, it was like, okay, you didn't have a great homestand, but then you were able to bounce back a little bit later on to be able to win games without PJ Washington, win games without Derek Lively at times, win games without Luka Doncic, Najee Marshall stepping up to be able to even things out based off of the slow start to the season. That's why I feel like this team is definitely above average after 25 games, given the adversity and the circumstances that they overcame to get to what is a 16-9 record, and right now 4th in the Western Conference. So I'm going to go with a B+ when it comes to the Mavericks in their first 25 there. Anything else based off of what you have seen over the 25-game observation that could stand out to help them get even further up the grading charts when it comes to how the rest of the first half of the season, or I should say pre-All-Star break season for the Mavericks, is going to look here?
Yeah, I think Klay's individual numbers, like we've talked about a few times, Klay's individual numbers are disappointing, but his impact on the way teams are defending the Mavs is like A+. It really is remarkable seeing just how much more open the floor is for Luka and Kyrie. Most nights, some teams are still going to, do some exotic stuff like OKC did, where it's going to put Luka and Kyrie into some tough spots. But it really feels like night to night, Luka and Kyrie are not having to work as hard for their meal as they did last year. And Klay has a lot to do with that. So I think, Klay's impact, really high. PJ Washington's impact, A+. Luka, his last few games, he's been a lot better. Obviously, with that OKC game accepted, but Kyrie, A+ this year. He's been unbelievable. I mean,
by our expectations for him, I would say A.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys on this team are exceeding expectations or even meeting them, but our expectations were rightfully really high coming into the year. I think really like Luka is the only guy that's kind of like, I feel like he could hit another level, and maybe Klay's percentages. And if they do, then oh my God, A++++++++.
Oh, the infinite amount of pluses.
Yeah, like the teacher in A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Najee Marshall, A+.
The knife!
Quentin Grimes,
Stein
just
is back.
solid B.
I can't do that.
We also
when I call
hyped
in
him up.
remotely. It's hard to time that.
Yeah, it is. The Derek Lively, weirdly, like B-. And again, just based off my expectations for him thus far,
Okay.
I think that's going to rise, but B- so far. Us, the graders, A+. S tier,
S
which
for
stands
what,
for
Bobby?
sucks.
No,
Wait,
it stands for super cool.
Oh,
So SC. Okay, now you're doing multiple letters.
with a little hyphen. In the
That's
middle.
right. Luke says he would give Luka Doncic a C so far this season.
I don't disagree. And again, based off our expectations for him so far, also it's going to go up. We're not worried.
That's the
about
thing. Like, if you're expecting best player in the world,
Right.
and you're like only delivering all-star
Best
season,
in the world.
then like that's a underperforming. But
It. Yeah, even All NBA. He is having an All NBA. Like I think he'd be on the. He'd be on the All NBA team.
His numbers are still silly good.
They are.
Yeah, he'd be an All NBA. Maybe
How
not
can
first
you give
team.
him a C?
He holds himself to a higher standard than what his performances have shown so far.
I think I expected. I did kind of expect, or I thought he could be best player in the world, and I'm not sure he'd be All NBA first team right now. So yeah, maybe B minus, but somewhere in there.
Okay. Well, let us know what your grades are when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks. We'll continue to read those throughout the course of the show as well. Coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast, Yossi Gozlan, NBA salary cap analyst, going to be joining us here on the show to answer your questions, answer questions about the upcoming NBA trade deadline and rumors when it comes to your Dallas Mavericks and what they can do to maybe make some moves. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Let's talk about Game Time. Game Time is the best ticketing platform out there. It's where I go to buy my tickets. I'm kind of looking at a Jamie XX concert coming up in January. Need to check my schedule, check the Mavs schedule. Mavs schedule basically is my schedule. But Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. So you really don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets, not sure which deal is the best. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. You can go and download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time? Who? Wayne Dyer once said, when you dance, your purpose is not to get to a certain place on the floor. It's to enjoy each step along the way. And if you want to enjoy each step along the way around your floor, no matter whether you're dancing, walking, or crawling, hey, then contact our friends at Empire Today, where you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. And with their virtual floor designer, you can be waltzing around your kitchen on selfie mode, looking at what that new floor will look like in your decor, in your lighting, in your home, underneath your hot dancing feet. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Again, use promo code DLLS to save yourself some cash and have a nice dance in your kitchen. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
Appreciate you joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Again, make sure you download and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free. And like, comment, and subscribe if you're new here on DLLS Sports for DLLS Mavs. A little bit later on in the show, we'll have some Bob-analysis when it comes to what the Mavericks have been doing in wins versus losses. And a little bit later on as well, we'll dial up the Stein line here with our national NBA insider, Mark Stein, live in studio with us. But right now, we welcome in NBA salary cap analyst previously of Hoops Hype. You can find him on X at Yossi Gozlan. He is Yossi Gozlan.
Yossi,
what's going on,
good?
man? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, guys. How do I sound? Is it okay?
You sound
perfect.
great.
Sound great.
You sound better when
Sound like a pro.
exactly. You sound like a pro.
Always worried about the technical issues at first, but thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, Yossi is the guy that I text with the most mundane or obscure cap questions that could possibly come up in my life. You're the first guy I hit up to be like, what happens if you trade a player? I can't even create it like a good hypothetical scenario, but that's what you're here for.
I'm glad that for a lot of people, it's like, I'm just gonna ask Yossi. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, how did you get into salary cap analysis and still dealing with all the kinds of numbers, especially with first apron, second apron, and everything else? How did you get involved in this side of the business here?
I've always been a pretty big fan of the NBA in general, and I'm sure like many of us at some point will realize, we understand it pretty well, maybe try to do something with it. So I just decided to study the cap. I've always done like fake trades on Real GM growing up, and I just thought maybe I should actually like know exactly how it works. So like 6-7 years ago, I just started learning the cap really fully, and I would say about 3 years ago, I really got a like strong mastering/understanding of it. And I've just been writing about it all these years, been able to put out content and do all sorts of stuff with it. And I just love it. It's something that I understand a lot of people don't really want to break into, but for some reason, I just really like it. I really enjoy it. I'm really passionate about it.
It's something that I do think the knowledge and the understanding and the want for that knowledge has definitely grown based on the internet, based off the fracturization of like people who are interested in this stuff. They have all these different people that they can go to now. I think that's a cool thing. So I guess just to start us off, can you just kind of set the table for where Dallas stands? What their limitations are, where they are in the salary cap, and within the CBA, and kind of what restrictions they're looking at in terms, if as we talk about them potentially trying to make trades this season.
So with the Mavs, their biggest limitation is that they are hard capped to the first apron. That's $178 million. And they are right at it with their payroll. With their 15-man roster, they're about $500,000 below it. So the issue isn't so much about can they make the money work. It's more so they're going to have to go dollar for dollar pretty much, or at least decrease the payroll in the end, since they can't really increase it. And Jimmy Butler makes a lot of money. He makes almost $49 million, and that's going to require a lot of heavy lifting on the Mavs' part to get a deal done, because not only do they have to not pass that first apron, but they have to structure the deal where, in all likelihood, they're going to trade out a lot of guys in that scenario to make the money work. You also got to be able to get back the 14 players eventually, all while still being able to not pass that first apron. So there's a lot of, so that's the biggest hurdle. Obviously, what do they have to give up of interest for the Heat? That's a whole nother issue. They have 2 first-round picks, 1 first-round pick swap they can offer. So that might not even get the ball rolling, but assuming it is enough and there is like something to be done between the two, it's gonna take a lot of heavy lifting on the Mavs end to make a deal work when it comes to the salary cap aspect.
Yeah, because a lot of times when just to hammer home this point, which you said about the salary matching or needing to decrease, we talk about trades, and if you're not in the position Dallas is, if you're under the salary or over the salary cap just by a little bit, we talk about 20% matching, right? You can make a trade, and as long as the salaries one way or the other are within 20%, that's a deal. Basically, Dallas doesn't have that 20% upwards mobility when you're looking at a trade like Jimmy Butler, who's in Miami right now. And Mark Stein on the show has already shot down some of the rumors that it started in terms of that being something Dallas is interested in, but it's still an interesting thing to talk about. But it's specifically kind of that budge, that ability to budge, and they don't have that upwards wiggle room at all right now, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So every other team in the NBA knows that about the Mavs, right? So whether you're Miami or New Orleans with Herb Jones or any other team with any other player the Mavs might be interested in, could that team's GM say, all right, Dallas, we'll take less, or we'll give you less money back. Like, we'll take Daniel Gafford at $14 million and give you a player that's only making $12 million, but it's going to cost you more than it normally would if it was dollar for dollar. Like, instead of giving us a 2, we're going to make you give us a 1 just to save you some cash. Like, is that a realistic thing as we get to trade negotiation season?
So in regards to getting Jimmy Butler, that they're gonna want to hope that there are teams interested in the players the Mavs have, because if there were gonna be a trade, it's unrealistic that the Heat are gonna want to take 4 guys back, because if they're trading Jimmy Butler and likely getting worse, they're gonna want to save money because they're already deep into the tax. So if they're going to take on all these extra players, then they'd have to cut some guys or do some other trades to make room for these guys, because you can't pass 15 players. So the other aspect that makes the Jimmy Butler trade also hard for the Mavs, even like getting past the point that the Heat are on board, is that they're probably going to have to get a 3rd or 4th team involved. So like to your point, you're saying, Daniel Gafford, for example. My guess is that if the Mavs can really, if they're actually in the running for Jimmy Butler, they're going to want to try to keep PJ Washington as well. So they can make it work if they're sending out, Maxi Kleber, Najee Marshall, Daniel Gafford, and Klay Thompson. But they're going to have some other teams help. And the question is, are these teams going to be actually interested in those guys? Would they even want to maybe give up a little something, reroute that to the Heat, and to make the deal flow? And if that's not the case, maybe for a guy like Kleber, for example, maybe they require something from the Mavs to take him on. And if that happens, then it's going to be even harder to make a deal because the Mavs don't even have any second-round picks to offer. They only have like 1 second-round pick by my count. I think they have like in their entire disposal to trade.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're very barren there.
It's
Yeah.
just like these compounding, complicated factors from what they have to offer, the salary matching component, now these third and fourth team component. There's just so much resistance that even again, if the Heat are on board, it just makes a deal so complicated that ultimately I doubted something that big can even come together at this point.
Yeah, and again, this is going to be me just kind of restating something you already said, but I thought this was a really good point. If Miami trades Jimmy Butler, they're trying to shed salary, and so that means they want to be taking back more money, or they want to be taking back less money than Jimmy Butler makes. But Dallas can't do that. Dallas has to do a 1-for-1 match. They don't have the room to go to send more salary, to send less salary in that direction and receive back more salary. So like the fundamental reason that Miami would be interested in trading Jimmy Butler, maybe there's another, if any scenario where this trade actually were to happen, obviously maybe they could find another reason that would make sense. But the fundamental reason is that Miami is in such a tricky salary cap situation that they wanted to reduce their payroll, and Dallas directly cannot facilitate that for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have to get multiple teams involved, and that's probably the hardest part of it all.
Yossi Gozlan joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast, NBA salary cap analyst, joining us here on the show as we start to look kind of at the books for the Dallas Mavericks and what they could do potentially from a trade perspective. When you analyze the salary cap itself, whether it be for the Mavericks or any of these teams, what's the most difficult part about the way that the rules are structured now for teams to be able to acquire and trade players that really makes it interesting when you're doing the work to try to figure out how these teams can make moves in order to improve their teams going forward here?
It just seems like all these the apron restrictions have been making it so much harder. And like I'm beating the same point, but now a lot of these apron teams are going to need extra teams to help them. Back in the previous CBA, they've made it a little more complicated, but all it was if you're already a taxpayer, you're just paying the tax, then you just can't take in as much money in a trade as a team that's below the tax can, or a team with cap space. They can just take on the difference of whatever cap space they have in the player salary. But now it's more complicated, where not only can teams above the first apron not increase their payroll, but there's like the second tier of the apron where there's even more complications there. Teams above the second apron can only decrease their payroll in the trade or go dollar for dollar, which is pretty rare. And so all by adding these limitations, they're just forcing teams to expand their deals, add extra teams. If you look at the Karl Anthony Towns trade, a deal which would be honestly like way harder to do mid-season due to certain aspects, is that deal was done in the offseason, and they needed a third team to take on all these extra players.
I mean, Dallas this summer just completed a 6-team deal, right? Which is the most teams that's ever been involved. And that was for Klay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. But with this cat trade, that one's so interesting to me because the Knicks didn't even have like enough money to meet the threshold they needed to send out to take in Towns' salary, but they went through, it's not like a loophole. This has been done before with other sign and trades, but they met that amount by sign and trading players they had the rights to. So now you're forcing teams to like really dig deep and find these other creative avenues to get something done. But the biggest thing is now you almost always have to involve a third or fourth team because of these extra limitations.
Real quick, but I thought Luke Barn, he's Burn. Thank you. He says, and I think this is a good point, this could be a really quiet trade season with all these rules. Do you think there's any truth to that? Do you think that the added complications is actually going to reduce the ability for NBA teams to actually construct deals that are feasible under the salary cap?
So I think if I had to predict, it will be a quieter offseason, but not necessarily because of the rules. Because if anything, they've technically made the rules a lot easier for most teams. There's only few teams that are actually impacted by these restrictions, and most teams that are well below the aprons, they have actually even more flexibility. They could take on even more money than ever before. Now they made trade mid-level exceptions. Those are now trade exceptions. So a lot of teams didn't use them over the offseason like in the traditional sense, and they're holding them over for trade opportunities come deadline. So it could be more active in that sense, but maybe just in terms of the big names, the star power that's moved, I feel like there's not going to be too much going on there. And again, it's not necessarily because of rules, but it just seems like a lot of guys have got into new homes recently. And so far, the biggest names seem to be Jimmy Butler, who, when he first was rumored to be available over the offseason, I wasn't even like that convinced. I didn't really talk about it much because it just seemed more like a contract thing. Seems like he's trying to get an extension or something. And then like Brandon Ingram, who his name's been out there for a while. Now he's injured. That's more complicated. And then everyone else, it's more periphery. We're not even sure how available they are. A guy like Trae Young, for example, his name will always be out there, but he's probably not really actually available. So I just don't see what are the big names in terms. So if you're hoping for like a splashy trade deadline in that sense, I probably wouldn't get my hopes up.
Yossi, tell the folks they can find you and the work that you got going on, man.
You guys can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, at Yossi Gozlan. You can find me on YouTube also at Yossi Gozlan. And now I just literally 15 minutes ago published my Substack. It's called The Third Apron. And I'll be posting a lot of my written work there now. I haven't written for about a year since I left HoopsHype, and I'm back. I'm glad to be back in it. And then you can see all my salary cap sheets on capsheets.com.
Awesome, man. Well, you do terrific work covering one of the more difficult things in sports these days when it comes to the NBA salary cap and the team's management of it. Really appreciate your time, and look forward to the next visit here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Really appreciate it.
Yossi, appreciate you.
Good luck with the Substack.
Thank you for having me on, guys.
Be good.
There it goes. Yossi Gozlan. You can find him on X at Yossi Gozlan. Does terrific work covering the salary cap for the NBA teams, and you got some really good information there when it comes
Kevin,
to
that was good information, but if it were me, I would just break the rules. I would
just break
do
the rules
whatever I
altogether
want.
and just make the trades.
Rules are for fools, baby.
And just make the trades and see what the penalties come afterwards. But we appreciate.
I don't think it works like that.
Don't kill.
We
got
to get him back on and ask what happens if
when you just break the rules.
Break the rules. Yeah.
That's when you break the rules. Coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs podcast, it's a little Bob-analysis with our guy Bobby Carell. He's going to tell us what the Mavericks are doing in wins versus losses and what that can mean for them going forward for the rest of the year. Plus, we'll dial up the Stein line a little bit later on in our show with our national NBA insider, Mark Stein, here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Before we get there, let me talk to you about Sleeper. I'm calling all my ball knowers. I got 3 of them on set with me, and I know that you're a ball knower as well. For the Sleeper app, Sleeper that you've known for hosting the best fantasy football leagues in the game now allows you to put your knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. Cowboys on the road to take on the Carolina Panthers this upcoming weekend. If you're looking for Bryce Young to have a big day against the Cowboys secondary, you might want to take him to have more than 100 passing yards. Or if you're looking for CeeDee Lamb to have a big day against the Panthers defense, maybe more than 0.5 touchdowns will get you get the job done for you as well. Remember, if you think you have what it takes, Sleeper allows you with the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. So if you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app and use code DLLSMavs to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Remember, terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. So make sure you check out Sleeper today.
Fellas, it's that time of the year. Do you guys have any guesses at what time of the year it is?
It's Christmas time.
How do we do that at the same time?
I was going to say it's the time of the year where you are... That was scary.
No, really.
It's the time of the year where you spend several weeks thinking, what do I buy my father that I haven't already bought him already? Let me tell you, FOCO, Foco has the best sports gear around. They have hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. I am on their website right now. They have tumblers. They have Christmas-themed T-shirts. They have literally everything your dad wants and needs. So check out foco.com or click the link in the description below. For all non-presale items, use the promo code DLLS10. That's DLLS10 for 10% off.
We clearly are ready for a Charlie Brown Christmas.
We hit the note.
No, we did.
Y'all nailed that.
That's great.
That was amazing.
Terrifying.
Let us know your favorite Christmas movie in the chat. Now I want to know because mine
What a
is
professional read to power through that.
No, it was great. Great
Need
job,
a
Sam.
raise.
Mine personally is a Charlie Brown Christmas. That's my favorite Christmas movie. You got a favorite Christmas movie?
Die Hard. I don't know.
That's not a Christmas movie.
It is a
Bobby,
Christmas movie, but it's a tired answer.
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
That's not a Christmas movie either.
It takes place during Christmas. They mention Christmas in it like 3 times.
Gosh, Mark, do you have a favorite Christmas movie?
Rocky 5.
That's not a Christmas movie either. Y'all are just trolling, man. What is
Did they
going
fight
on
on Christmas in Russia?
Oh my gosh.
The much maligned Rocky 5. The much maligned Rocky 5. They fought on Christmas. It's a Christmas movie.
Ben Selheim says Die Hard.
Kevin, what's yours?
I said a Charlie Brown Christmas.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Also, Home Alone. That's a great one, Lou.
That's a good movie.
Eyes Wide Shut.
It's a great movie. What?
Technically,
What?
Christmas. Let's move on.
Bobby's got some Bob Alice's for us when it comes to your Dallas Mavericks, what they do in win versus losses, and what that means for them for the rest of the year, Bobby Corella.
Yeah, so it's always fun. I mean, sometimes. It depends on the team's record, but it's usually fun to look through a team's game log and advanced box scores. All this stuff is free, by the way, on NBA.com. You can do all of this and see where the thresholds are for when the Mavs are good versus when they're not good. And then compare like those cutoffs to the rest of the NBA to give you an idea of like, okay, generally speaking, regardless of competition, what goes right in Mavs wins and what goes wrong when they lose. And so I just put together a big list of their record win blank and their record win blank. So for starters, these are basic ones, all right? And then you all feel free to chime in with your thoughts after each category. The Mavs are 16-9 this season. Thoughts? Just kidding. The Mavs are 10-1 this season when leading after the first quarter. 6-8 when tied or trailing. So they've actually been losing at the end of the first quarter or tied more often than they've been winning. However, that was a lot more lopsided like 3 weeks ago. Feels like their first quarter woes are kind of a thing of the past. But
That makes sense, though.
Yeah, it does. The NBA in many ways, and you'll see this, the NBA in many ways is a first quarter league. For all the comebacks we see, generally speaking, you get off to a good start, you're going to win. To wit, they're 14-3 this season when leading at halftime. They're 2-6 when tied or trailing. They are 15-0 this season when leading after the third quarter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
1-9 when tied or trailing.
That's pretty typical, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Are you serious?
It's happening.
It's happening. It's happening.
Oh, my God. It's happening.
No!
Jeez.
Just stay out there.
Yeah, we don't want it then.
Just kidding. We need you in the fourth segment.
He literally did get up and walk across the camera and like,
Well,
let
that's
us
right.
go.
You got to do that. It's Mark Stein, man.
Wow.
What a power move.
Let's
Wow.
guess who he's talking to. I'm joking.
The one time that they've won a game when trailing after the third quarter, of course, is that Memphis game. The one time they've lost a game when leading after the first quarter was that Utah game. So we can ding bells for both of those. So there you go.
I didn't like
The
that.
later it gets in the game,
That was good.
the
That
more,
was good. I
if the
like
Mavs
that.
are ahead, they're winning. And now,
That's pretty common around the NBA. Like,
yeah, but to be
teams-
undefeated is something.
Yeah,
that's something.
I
else.
would want to say I've seen the stat before. The winning percentage for teams that are trailing or leading after 30 is like 80 or 85%.
For good teams. For good teams, yeah.
For good teams.
Yeah.
yeah,
Good teams,
distinction.
you're winning. Hang on, I gotta do it.
Oh, sourcing emergency. Oh no!
Double
Bobby,
source
Bobby has a
emergency?
source. Oh, I think my phone's ringing.
I don't know.
All right, let's keep going.
Okay.
Okay.
So
This show is off the rails
This
today.
season.
My gosh.
points per game. All right, that's never a great thing to look at, but this is just interesting to me. The number 4 team in points per game this year is the Chicago Bulls at 119.1. The Mavs this season, when they score at least 119 points, they are 12-2. When they score less than that, they are 4-7. So now, granted, they play at a fast pace, but like all of their scores look like 80s Denver Nuggets scores basically this season. When they hit at least 13 threes, which is 15th and 16th place, 15th and 16th place in the NBA
There's
average.
no other way to do it.
13.3 threes and 13.2 threes. When the Mavs make an above average number of threes, they are 10-3. When they hit fewer than that, they are 6-6. So the better they shoot, obviously, the more likely they are to win. How about this one? When they're off.
Wait, I do want to stop you down on that one because last season, Dallas actually got to a point where the threes, usually threes, and especially during the Luka Doncic era, made three-pointers has been the most indicative stat whether Dallas won or lost.
Yeah.
Like, just straight up, period.
Trying to get away from that.
Yeah. They got away from that to an extent after the trade deadline. So what you're actually saying with this, interestingly, is it's kind of crept back in a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Granted, 13 isn't very much.
What are the numbers again?
So 13th is about average in the NBA. It felt like a couple years ago that needed to be closer to like 15 or 17. Like it felt like they needed to make a lot of threes.
Yeah.
Because they were taking like 45.
What's the exact? I just want to hear the exact.
They're
stat again.
10-3 when they make at least 13 threes. So when they make a league average number of threes, they're 10-3. When they make less than that, they're a 500 team.
Interesting. I think 500 is still an improvement based off where they've been before.
I agree.
You know, they have been in scenarios where they are losing most games that they don't hit their average or the league's average.
Yeah. The final offensive stat, they are 14-2 this season when their offensive rebound rate is a bottom 5 mark. It's about 25.6%, is a 26th place team in the league. So whenever they grab 25.6% of their possible offensive rebounds,
their opponents
or
offensive.
fewer. No. When the Mavs.
Okay.
So when the Mavs don't rebound their own misses at a good rate, they are 2-7. When they rebound offensively at a rate that is better than bottom 5 in the NBA, they are 14-2. This season, as a team in this league at this juncture, they are 14th in the league. When Derek Lively's on the floor, they offensive rebound 31.6% of their misses. When PJ Washington's on the floor, they rebound more than 30% of their misses. Those guys have missed a lot of time. How about the number one on-off offensive rebound rate player on the team? Maxi Kleber, of all guys, 31.8%. He's also missed a lot of games. So that just goes back to when the Mavs have their big guys on the floor and they're not playing small, when their fours are big, PJ and Maxi, when their 5 is active, Lively, to a degree Gafford, obviously, they're really good. And this goes back to my main idea coming into the season with this team was you sure are good at offense. Wouldn't it be great if you gave yourself as many chances as possible to score? Go grab the misses because you got a bunch of shooters.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of epic, legendary shot creators. Give yourself more chances to score. And they've been a better offensive rebound team this year than they were last year, by far.
So what does this mean, Bobby, for you when you looked at these numbers about what the Mavericks can continue to do as based off of what they've done in the first 25 games?
I have some defensive ones, too.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah,
Okay, No, you're good. So the other benchmark I use is how often do the Mavs defend as the worst team in the league. So this year, Washington, 119.2 defensive rating, dead last in the league. When the Mavs don't defend at that level, they're 14-5. They're 2-4 when they do. So when they're really bad on defense, they lose. Last season, though, they were 30th or worse in 31 games out of 82. This season, it's only been 6 out of 25. So that's a much better rate.
Okay.
On pace to do like 25 games like that. Yeah.
As opposed to almost half.
Right.
Last season, no, it's about 20 games.
About 20. Thank you. Yeah, I did the math wrong.
This season, the Mavs are 13-2 when they grab at least 8 steals, 3-7 when they don't. They're 10-1 when their opponent turns it over at an above-average rate. They're 6-8 when it's below. The Mavs are actually a below-average opponent turnover percentage team this season. So, try and force more turnovers. We're seeing Luka get more steals. That's good to see. And the Mavs are also 14-4 when they block at least 4 shots. They're 2-5 when they block 3 or fewer. So sometimes they say about defense, don't mistake activity for productivity. But for the Mavs, that's not the case. The more steals, the more blocks they get is a good thing. Even if it means you're taking chances, for them, it means you're getting wins.
Luka Doncic is in the top 10 in steals so far this year through 25 games for the Dallas Mavericks, for those who are looking for some defensive indicators for their superstar. Real quick, Bobby, before we take our break. So when you look at the both offensive and defensive numbers, what does that mean when it comes to the rest of the season?
Execute. On offense, literally, you have to play with activity if you're a big. Go get the offensive rebound. Try and pick your spots if you're a perimeter player to crash the glass and produce an offensive rebound. Knock down your open shots. Like, it's a shot-making league. You got to make them. And then on defense, again, just be active. Get steals. The Mavs most of the time have 2 or 3 above average defenders on the floor, but that means a lot of the times they have 2 or 3 below average defenders on the floor. Those below average guys have to be able to pull their weight. And oftentimes that's going to be compensating for your size or for being out of position by trying to make a play on the ball. So let's block a shot, poke a ball loose, jump a passing lane, sneak up behind a guy, rip it from his hands or whatever. And a lot of that's Luka and Kyrie. If those guys can make splash plays on defense, and if PJ and Lively can stay healthy, then this team has a top 10 caliber defense, and they should win a lot of games that way.
Terrific stuff from our guy, Bobby Curl. If you missed anything, make sure you go back and listen on our podcast, wherever you get your podcasts for free, or you can watch it right here on DLLS Sports. Coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast, we dial up the Stein line with our national NBA insider, Mark Stein, his latest news and notes, including one, of course, on Dirk Nowitzki. All that coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
But first, want to shout out our diehards. You scan that QR code that's going to appear. Oh, it just appeared. Look at that. It'll take you to a website called alldlls.com/diehard. You can also do so by scanning the description or by clicking the link in the description below. You don't want to scan it. That won't do anything for you.
QR code.
There's a QR code right there that you can scan, but you click a link, you scan a code, or you type in your search bar. You ask your parents if you can log onto the internet. Go to www.alldlls.com. And become a diehard. And when you do that for less than $7 a month, you will get a free t-shirt of your choice. We got more than 35 shirts to choose from. We also got hats, Mark Stein, on the way, apparently very soon. I was in a meeting today with merch people and some people from around All City Network. They actually have a lot of Mavs stuff that's in the lab right now. We're about to unveil some more Mavs merch. That'll be nice. And some headwear.
Will it say on the website that this is the Mark Stein hat?
I can give you Gina's contact info if you want to talk to her about that. But anyway, you get a free shirt, you get a discount on hats and everything else on the site. You gain access to our entire website, all the paywalled content, the written stuff, post-game analysis, features, columns, opinions, breakdowns, profiles, all that excellent stuff. Now the rumor season's starting, especially in the NHL with the Stars having LTIR Tyler Seguin. They got a whole lot of free money that they can use to get a star. You want to know who that's going to be? You're going to want to check out the website. You also get to join the DLLS Discord server, and you get your physical diehard card, Kevin Gray and Mark Stein.
That's right.
There's plenty of reasons. Shout out to Colin, Maria, Rhonda. Those are the 3 most recent diehards. Shout out to the 3 of you. Really, really appreciate y'all.
Once you become a diehard member here and become part of our DLLS Sports family, go to alldlls.com, click that diehard tab, become a diehard member for less than $7 a month to get that free t-shirt. Tag us on social media, and we'll shout you out here on the program as well. Again, become a diehard member and join our DLLS Sports family.
Thank you, Jacob. Officially worn
by Mark Stein.
By the old man.
As we get ready to dial up the Stein line here on the DLLS Mavs podcast, remember, like, comment, and subscribe while you're here. Really appreciate you joining us, however and wherever you may be watching and or listening to us today. We have our NBA insider in studio with us today. Good to have Mark Stein with us as we jump into his news and notes. And let's just start right here in our own backyard as the NBA continues to expand its media platform, whether it be with NBC and now with Amazon Prime Video, a very legendary and familiar face going to be joining the Amazon Prime Video coverage of the NBA.
Yeah, Amazon's just starting to build out their team. I reported yesterday that they're nearing a deal with a certain Dirk Nowitzki, who is beloved by all
Let's go!
in this studio and in this city. And, you know, it's a huge deal for Dirk because basically he's starting a new career. This is his foray into a broadcasting career. Now, the exact specifics of his role there have not yet emerged. I will have more on that as soon as I am able. But, you know, they've got Ian Eagle already lined up to do play-by-play. If you watch the Nets, if you watch TNT, if you watch him on the NFL.
Tanner's a big Ian Eagle fan.
Ian Eagle is one of the greats. And, you know, it's been pretty widely reported that they're also pursuing Blake Griffin, who, like Dirk, that would be a step into a new career for him. So it's interesting to watch.
2 of the league's best dunkers.
Yeah, 2. They're synonymous pretty much with their above-the-rim exploits.
Yes.
So it's interesting, the team that they're putting together. We also saw this week that it was reported that Jamal Crawford's going to NBC. So NBC and Amazon starting to make moves, but Dirk, I have to say, it's, he's really surprised me in retirement. First of all, I thought he was going to really struggle with retirement because this is a guy he was an absolute NBA lifer, played his game. He's talked many times about playing and then going home to watch the West Coast games, watching a lot of Kobe because the Lakers would be on late. Like, just in all the years I've known him, he never shut the NBA off. So I thought retirement was going to be really, really hard for him. And he's frankly embraced it, loved it, done all kinds of travel that he never could have done when he was playing. So, as someone who prides himself on being able to kind of know him and read him pretty well, I got that one wrong. And then even this, like, that he would want to go into broadcasting, I didn't necessarily see that either. But, anytime Dirk has done anything on camera in a broadcast mode, I think it's gone over pretty well. Anytime there'd be times he'd be injured or sick and would do broadcasting from the Mavs bench. So, I think it's something people are, I'd like to hear your thoughts in the chat as well, but something tells me people are going to be pretty damn excited to see him behind the camera.
Oh, I can't wait.
Or in front of the camera. Tanner's behind the camera.
I want him to call everybody burgers. I think that he's going to make so many self-deprecating jokes. He's going to get some bangers off. I'm excited for that.
I think the first shut it down reference, I hope that becomes like his signature. Like when a big play happens, how we have the Stephen Curry.
I think he'll take it a different way though. Like
shut it down. That kind of thing.
I think I wonder how much Dirk thinks about those moments and whether he will try to be a little bit like that or whether he's like, well, that was me on a microphone, but I was a player rooting for my team.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's such a perfectionist that he might look at that stuff and be like, well, that's not how I'm going to do it as a professional in this way. So I don't know though.
One thing I appreciate about Dirk is that he always appreciates other players. It's never like, I don't think he's going to be like, back in my day, or like this guy couldn't play in my era or whatever. Like he's very much, this guy is great. He's really talented. He's fun to watch. Like he is an appreciator of the game. And I think that's been a big issue, especially with national NBA coverage, is a lot of panelists, a lot of commentators are just like, I don't even like basketball anymore.
And this isn't a one-to-one.
That's a problem.
No, I agree. I 100% agree with Bobby here.
It couldn't work on this show.
No, we love basketball here at
We love
except when the
basketball.
Mavs are losing to the Thunder. Then basketball sucks.
Oh, well,
Bad sport.
I always love basketball.
Oh, well, whatever.
I think this is not a one-to-one comparison. Dirk Nowitzki is beloved and his legacy is there, but I do think the kiddos, the youngins, forget just how good he was in the 2000s. And the comparison I wanted to make is that I think Tony Romo, had a little bit more appreciation once he got on mic and everybody adored him and loved him. And I think Dirk is going to be, equally good at making that transition. And I think it'd be very cool if there's just a little bit more appreciation of him and his career and, his very high spot in the sports history because he also becomes this beloved announcer over the next few years. I think that'd be a really cool thing to see.
Be fun to watch to see Dirk Nowitzki on the television airways as he gets into his commentary career as far as the NBA is concerned. As we are dialing up the sideline here on our DLLS Mavs podcast, NBA trade rumors continuing to swirl around the league. Our very own Mark Stein reporting when it comes to Jimmy Butler and the news around him and what teams may or may not be involved as the potential Miami Heat star may be moving elsewhere by the time we get to the trade deadline.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the way it's been framed to this point, the teams that would interest Jimmy in terms of potential landing spots, and the Mavs make tons of sense from that perspective. Houston and Dallas. I mean, Jimmy is a Texan, and he would naturally, if he has to leave Miami, he's going to naturally want to go to a team that can contend. And as I said in the first segment, selfishly, I would love it if Jimmy Butler ended up here. He's one of my favorite personalities to cover. It's never boring when Jimmy Buckets is around. But the reality is the Mavs already have two max players, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving. Both of them are eligible this summer for massive contracts. There just isn't a way to go get Jimmy Butler. And to be totally frank, another playmaker, as versatile as Jimmy is, he's a two-way player. he's a winner above all. The guy knows how to win. I mean, Miami, in his 5 years, Miami's made 2 trips to the finals and was a shot away from making a third. He has had a massive impact on thrusting Miami back to prominence. But the reality is, another playmaker is not the Mavericks' priority. I think we know that if they could wave a magic wand and upgrade the roster, it's going to be size. It's going to be making the four rotation deeper and adding front court depth. I mean, it's not, how would it even work? Luka and Kyrie have blossomed as a partnership spectacularly well compared to what so many people, including me. I mean, I was certainly a skeptic when the Mavericks initially made the trade for Kyrie Irving. You're not gonna bring in a third ball handler now. So the Mavericks are not a realistic destination. And look, Jimmy's from the Houston area. The Rockets have been so adamant that the Rockets have been telling everyone around the league, we're not doing an in-season deal. No one seems to believe them, but the Rockets have been really consistent with that messaging that they are not going to do an in-season deal. But when the Rockets do make that next splashy move, and it will happen eventually, they want to do it with someone who's on the same age timeline as, they've got like 7 recent first-round picks, all under, all 23 and under on that team.
It's an expensive team to keep together, though, in a couple of years.
But when they do, so like if Donovan Mitchell had been made available, Houston would have been at the front of the line trying to get Donovan Mitchell. So they're looking. That's the kind of age range. There's been talk about Jimmy Butler. There's been talk about Durant. I mean, those guys are in their mid-30s. I mean, they're a lot older than this collection of just really interesting.
So which superstar are the Mavs going to trade for?
I don't think they're going to trade for a superstar. Now, I think
they got 2 already in our here already.
I think they're going to be very active in looking for trade upgrades. And look, I know you've already you always bring up Herb Jones and Larry Nance. I reported on both recently. The messaging I got this week, if you're calling about Herb Jones, don't even waste the time, because I don't think the Pelicans are entertaining that. And that's obviously what you would say in mid-December. The trade deadline's February 6th. But I believe it. The Pelicans have gone through injury hell. What they do have going is you've got Herb Jones, you've got Trey Murphy, you've got Missy, who's been such a great rookie. Like your young players are showing a lot of promise. You have something there. Like, I don't think they want to, they want to protect these young guys that have all outperformed their draft position and have done well. So I wouldn't anticipate that Herb Jones is going to be available. And when it comes, the Hawks have been getting calls on Larry Nance since they got him in the Dyson Daniels deal. And they've been telling everybody, no. There are many teams, not just Dallas, that would be interested in Larry Nance. But to this point, Atlanta just hasn't wanted to play ball on any kind of trades there.
I said this, but in terms of Dallas or in terms of Herb Jones being available, it's actually not good that the Pelicans were this bad and they've had such injury luck and they're sitting at the bottom of the conference. I think from my perspective, any deal that they might make was much likelier if they were a feisty team kind of in the play-in range and they thought they were one piece away. And then Dallas does have players they can send. They don't really have, they have a very limited number of draft picks and stuff they can send. So, the situation, if you're a play-in team, you are looking more for a impact now player. Dallas does have a few of those that they could have made available. They just don't really have the same amount of draft capital. And I think New Orleans doesn't have the same motivation when they're a losing team and, not to keep someone on a very good deal and kind of reassess.
For those with us on our television audience, we really appreciate you hanging out with us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Be sure to download and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free. Give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports on YouTube. You can become a diehard member at alldlls.com to join our DLLS Sports family. As we continue here with our National NBA Insider, Mark Stein, I wanted to ask you this before we got out of here today for our show officially, describing other teams that may be sellers potentially at the trade deadline, where we're talking about maybe a Washington, a Brooklyn, a Utah. What about those teams in terms of what they're potentially looking to do as far as...
Yeah, I mean, Jake Fisher, who writes twice a week for my Substack, you know,
You're beefing up the stack, by the way. I was really excited to see that news.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Trying. This is money time. I mean, this is the interest. That's the thing, you know, when we had Yossi on in the second segment, trades are harder to make in this double apron world. There's no question. Like, teams have been running into that when they're like, damn, we can't do that. The rules don't let us do that. But I feel like trade chatter around the league in general it just seems like before it gets more ramped up before December 15th with each passing year. And like, you know, Washington, you've got Valanciunas, Brogdon, Kyle Kuzma. There will be chatter about all of them. Utah, we've talked about it. Jordan Clarkson could be on the move, and of course now help me. Who am I leaving?
Mavs all-time
John
killer,
Collins.
John Collins.
Now John Collins, he's had a really strong season. This second, you know, he
Big contract though.
right, and it is a big contract, but you know, I think with Clarkson and Collins, there will at least be, you know, their names will be coming up with Chicago. You know, Zach LaVine is really hard to trade because of the numbers, but Zach LaVine's played really well to start this season. He's, after a season of injury woe, has looked really strong. Now, again,
he's a better defender than people think. I mean, he's not amazing, but when he locks in, like, you've seen him lock in before. I really wanted Orlando to go get him, or a team like that.
And the money makes it tough because he's owed almost $140 million when you include this year and the next two. But like, you know, Vucevic has played all-star ball for the, you know, offensively has been a monster for Chicago. So, you know, and then we're waiting, you know, Toronto the Mavs just, you know, Olynyk just came right in firing, you know, and shot the ball really well against the Mavs and showed you right away why teams are going to be interested in Olynyk. They've got Bruce Brown, who they could trade. Portland has a slew of guys who are generating various levels of trade interest. So the list of sellers, the selling teams are going to expand. And look, we don't have something as neat and tidy in the NBA as winter meetings. Like, we just had the winter meetings here in Dallas. I wish we had a winter meetings, but the closest thing to it, and I'll be there next week in Orlando, it's the G League Showcase. The whole G League is there. So everybody is watching games and scouting G League talent. It's not exclusively a trade convention like the winter meetings are in baseball, but there is a winter meetings element of it for the NBA. The whole NBA goes. Jake and I will both be there. There will be other reporters there, you know, and it's somewhat like Summer League, but I don't know. I find, for me, there's more of in Summer League, free agency has slowed down typically by the time Summer League starts, but there is more of a frantic nature to it because there are just so many more people in Vegas and fans. The showcase is closed to the public. So it's like, it really is just teams and muckrakers like me roaming the halls trying to get gossip. So agents, scouts, teams, but so again, it's not as fruitful as baseball's winter meetings, but like, I just think that the talk and chatters is just going to keep going. And hopefully when I'm checking in with you guys from the road next week, hopefully there will be a Mavs rumble or two that forces me to. Now, see, Luke Byrne was killing me. Did I have room to go behind you guys here?
You could have went behind the cameras if you had wanted to.
You want me to take a risk of kicking over these lights?
All you have to do is take one solid step
what
over.
What if I kick that camera over?
It's pretty tight back here. I'm not gonna. I think it's funny whenever you go in front of the camera.
It's funny when you go in front of the camera.
It is funny,
but you definitely could have went behind the camera and you would have been just fine.
You think?
Yeah, I got faith in you, Mark. I got faith in you, man.
You're an expert at navigating walking around long cords, all right? You got cords all over the place.
That's what you guys really would love. You'd love to see me trip over my own.
No, I would
you
not.
guys would love to see me trip over my own cord.
We would not be able to escape liability from that mistake. So I just want to go on record legally and say
before,
that would be terrible.
Before we go, oh no, Cato's got the mic. Please put the mic down. Please put the. I got it. I have to issue a mea culpa.
Oh,
like this wounds me. This is like a true senior moment. You asked. I said Rocky 5 when I was thinking of Rocky 4, and like when I start messing up Rockies, like that is like I really should go straight to the hospital. So I mean that is a
Like I will live. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get over that mistake. Because like I said,
This is shaking my faith in
My
you.
Tommy
it's shaking
Morrison.
my faith in myself.
Can we even believe your scoops anymore?
Rocky 4 was the fight on Christmas, and like I said, the fact that I screwed that up is truly alarming and might require like calling an ambulance.
First John Collins and now Rocky
No,
IV.
John Collins was just like I'm just that's just my brain is not working well. But
We all can change, Mark. It's okay. We all can change.
I hope I have not changed.
We
It's
all
like,
can change.
That was
for the better.
and Rocky 4 is a Christmas.
What if
movie.
we get you like
Okay.
a soundproof sort of
A
box
cone?
that could
You're
like,
not old
descend-
enough to have watched Get Smart. Maybe
I-
you watched
well,
the
I saw the
modernized.
Steve Carell.
I refuse to accept that. But
What it makes
I'm
what it makes-
assuming in that movie that they did bring it. Did they have the cone of silence?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I'm thinking of like the quick change, and they have the little thing go up and over and around.
Quick
and then,
change, man! Shout out Quick Change. I was literally just talking about Quick Change with someone, NBA royalty, and
Yeah.
like God, they were so good.
They were.
But going back to one of the shows of my youth, Get Smart, they actually had a cone of silence that would lower, but
Yeah, we
it-
need that for you.
but it never worked.
Ah.
But that would be cool if we could build a cone of silence. Anyone old enough to have watched Get Smart, it would be awesome if a cone of silence could just drop
While
over
you're
me,
breaking
and then I
your
wouldn't
news.
and then I wouldn't have to upset Kevin by running. Even though, like I said, I'm not sure there was room to sneak behind you guys. Going this way and
You would've
knocking
been just
cameras
fine.
over definitely was not what we want. Look how nervous Tanner looks just thinking about it.
Mikey Mavs asked, "What was that Christmas present that Stein was talking about at the end of the OKC show? Still to come, correct?"
So I cannot wait to talk about when we have this. Like,
This has been the tease of the century.
but
My goodness,
you know what?
man.
I think it is it just he knows about it. Is
It's
it just,
cool.
It's up. I think it's justified.
It's cool. Now, we
There's
don't
still
know.
a lot of logistics.
Yeah.
I'll say this: it's sizable.
Mm-hmm.
It's a house.
It's not. It's
It's
not.
a brand new car.
It's a yacht.
It's not just like something we can put in a box. So like, there's a lot of things. There's layers to this. There's a
Okay.
lot.
Thing.
There's a
All
lot.
right.
Just
I don't know what this is.
It's a pet giraffe.
when it happens.
Aw.
How
When
old?
it
It can
happens.
fit right there.
3 months?
When it happens,
6 months?
it's gonna be. It's not just for our show. It's for all shows. It's gonna be a thing. I'm telling you.
Okay, I'm excited.
He
about
bought
it.
us the first ever computer.
Santa Stein's
It's a
going to be
relic of the
delivering something
past.
here real soon. So shout out to Santa Stein.
It will help me beat Stockfish at chess. By the way, sorry. Today was game 14, wasn't it? Or 13? Sorry,
All right, it's time
I'm
to go.
on my own.
We appreciate you joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Again, make sure you download and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcast for free. Give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. And like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports here on YouTube. We are off on Friday, boys and girls. We will be back with you on Sunday for our pregame show at 7 p.m. as the Golden State Warriors host Klay Thompson and your Dallas Mavericks, as the Mavericks will take on the Golden State Warriors on Sunday evening. So pregame show begins at 7 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports for the DLLS Mavs pregame show. So we'll talk to you on Sunday. For our National NBA Insider, Mark Stein, our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Carella, our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato, with mic in hand. I am merely your host, Kevin
Why
Gray.
do you keep picking the mic up?
We will talk
Please
to you on
stop doing
Sunday at 7 p.m. right here on DLLS
What are you-
Mavs. Y'all be
What are
good.
you
We'll talk to you
gasping
later.
at?
Peace.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.